You are not crazy. Not all abuse looks like abuse. Sometimes it sounds like you're too sensitive. Sometimes it feels like confusion, anxiety, or just losing yourself. Today, we're breaking down the signs of emotional abuse that most people miss.
Have you ever felt something was wrong but couldn't explain it? Like the person you love was slowly chipping away at your sense of self?
We've been there. Different marriages, but to the same man, with the same toxic pattern. But God was still working.
We're Lizzie and Dina, women of faith, survivors, and truth tellers.
Surviving toxic relationships is for any woman stuck in confusion, healing after betrayal, or searching for her voice again.
You are not crazy.
You are deeply loved. Hey everybody, welcome today to Surviving Toxic Relationships. So excited that you're here. I want to introduce Zulma Williams. Zulma is a licensed clinical social worker, and she likes to keep it real. She calls herself the swearing therapist, which is just, I think it's hilarious. We'll keep it clean today because, we have audiences that some are okay with swearing and some not so much. I will tell you, once we start chatting with Zulma, you'll know why that she just happily calls herself that, because she's got all kinds of personality bundled up in that little body. Zulma is the founder of Dragonfly Therapy Services, and she specializes in trauma, anxiety, and depression. She's also a breast cancer survivor and a podcaster and an inspirational speaker. So we are so excited to have her today. I know that her story is going to be inspiring, and I know that she's got so much wisdom to pass on to you. She specializes in anxiety and depression, and that's huge for any of us in toxic relationships. And I know there are also a lot of us that have faced significant health challenges because of the stress and because of the exhaustion and because our bodies just didn't handle what we went through well. And so we manifested some illnesses, and very likely from that trauma. So take it away, Zulma.
Okay, thank you so much for having me, girls. I'm so honored to be here with you. So yes, it's like I am the swearing therapist. I will keep it clean with the help of God, because it's not an easy task, but we're going to do the best that we can. I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I moved to the United States at age 31. At 42, I was working in accounting, and I had survived an abusive relationship, which I'm going to get back to. And I started thinking about my future. And I was like, I'm not sure I want to do accounting for another 25 years. And I always had a passion for helping people. I had people come to me and told me their secrets, and they will say, I never shared this with anybody. It's like, okay, maybe I can start charging for this. And so what do I need to do in order to be a therapist? Oh, I need to go to school. So I started school at 42. I started my bachelor's of social work. And I want to emphasize, I continued to work in accounting while I was in school, because I needed no sugar daddy. So I needed to pay for bills and I needed to pay for the rent. So it's like I continue to work in accounting at the same time that I was building a different future. Because a lot of times we feel as if we had to destroy what we are doing or leave what we are doing. And that's not the case. We can continue to provide for ourselves at the same time that we are building a different future. So I graduated at 46. I was on track to do my master's. And 6 weeks after graduation, I got diagnosed with breast cancer, because life is what happens when you have other plans. So I moved back to Argentina, took care of my health. And then I wanted to celebrate my 50th birthday back in the States. And I started praying about it. I asked God for a sign that this was the right move. Careful what you ask for, because I asked for a sign. I got a banner, And out of nowhere, I got an email into my personal email from the university saying like, hey, we have the advanced master program back. Would you like to enroll? Right? Like, and that is a miracle, because after so many years of not being a student, your student email gets deactivated. So, and I got it into my personal email. I was like, thank you, Lord. Yes, I want to enroll. So I moved back to Las Vegas. That's where I was when I got diagnosed. And I celebrated my 50th birthday there. I started school. I graduated at 51. And I became independently licensed at 53 and a half. So then last year, I turned 60. I went to Hawaii for my 60th birthday, and I always loved the ocean. And as I grew older, I noticed that living in Las Vegas was getting harder and harder. 2 years ago, we had 117 degrees. Last year, we have 120. So it's like I noticed I was a prisoner in my own home because I wouldn't go anywhere. With that heat, you stay home or you are in the office with AC, right? Like, so. And I started praying about how can I live by the ocean, because I felt as if my soul needed that. And the answer was Panama. So last December, I moved to Panama. Now I can see the ocean from my window and I sleep through the waves at night, and life is good. So all that to say that age is nothing but a number.
Agreed. 100%. Nothing but a number.
My dad got remarried at 73. My siblings were like, no, don't get married. Why are you going to get him? I said, Dad, are you happy? Go ahead, get married. I'm thinking, like, how long is he going to live? Let the man enjoy, That man celebrated 24-year wedding anniversary. He passed away at 97. He ended up having the longest marriage in the family. I didn't last that long with my ex-husband. And so it's like, are you happy? Follow your heart. Who cares? You are 73. He died at 97 and he died of COVID. I think that if it wasn't for the pandemic, he would have celebrated his 25th year wedding anniversary. You know what I mean? Like, so
probably.
And his wife, she's still alive, and she wasn't a spring chicken either. But I think that we need to get in touch with our hearts and follow our hearts. That is a way of honoring God in being alive. Because so I'm big about birthdays. I'm the birthday queen, because I think so. A lot of people don't want to grow old, right? Like, oh my God, I'm getting older. And it's like, okay, what is the alternative? There are so many people didn't make it to 60. So I celebrate every birthday, because to me is honoring that God is keeping me alive for a reason. There are kids who don't get to celebrate the 5th birthday. So it's like, I think that growing old is a privilege denied to many. So why not go ahead and say, I had my sash, my tiara, like everybody knows it's my birthday, because I go all out, you know what I mean? And I would love for more people to start embracing that if we are here, it's because our mission is not complete.
Yeah. Well, even my sister, when on her birthday, she wears a tiara and she will go out and do her thing with it on, just having fun.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I kind of like skip over, but I want to get back to my abusive relationship. So I was deeply in love with a narcissist, and the abuse. Okay, so we were dating. We, thank God, never lived together, and that was by the grace of God, because while I was dating him, I lost my job. And he said, well, move in with me. And I was like, no, God is going to find a way. And thank God I didn't move in with him. But there is such misconception about abuse and what abuse is. In my head at that time, my therapist said that because I was so depressed and I had suicidal thoughts, I would have never acted on those, but I just wanted the pain to stop. And I told my therapist, why do I feel so depressed? She said, you're being abused. I was like, no, you're mistaken. He doesn't touch me. Because in my mind, abuse was, I beat the crap out of you and I sent you to the hospital. But I was experiencing sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. And I consider myself an educated and a smart woman, but I didn't know that was abuse. So I'm like, I think that we need to bring more awareness of what abuse is. And I'm so glad that you girls are doing this podcast, because it's like we need more information. Abuse doesn't start overnight. abuse starts like, okay, I'm going to go out with my friends. Oh, really? We don't spend that much time together. Why don't you stay and we watch a movie? I'm going to go visit my mom. Oh, really? Because they don't like me that much, right? And then you start adjusting to, oh, he's so sweet. He wants to spend time with me. It's not, don't go out with your friends. That comes later. But at the beginning, it's like, he's so sweet. He wants to spend time with me. And then eventually you find yourself isolated because now your friends don't invite you anymore. You're ashamed, so you don't tell your family what's going on. And that's when the true abuse begins, where he told me, like, you're good for nothing. Nobody's gonna want to be with you. You're ugly. You're getting fat. I was 100 pounds, to the point that because I was under so much stress, but I ate like a horse. Not anymore. I mean, I still eat like a horse, but I'm not longer 100 pounds. But at the time, I was so stressed out. I was 100 pounds. So it got to a point where, and I think that another component is the cultural aspect. So I'm from Argentina. He's from Argentina. So a lot of the abuse that I was experiencing, it was cultural, because that's what my mom did. That's what men do. So it's like, oh, he wanted to have sex and I didn't want to have sex. I will have sex because he wanted. And I'm a woman, and that's what you do in my culture, right? It says like, and then I realized, looking back, my therapist, after we broke up, she invited me to write the relationship from beginning to end. And then she marked all the cycles of violence in my writing. My jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, oh my God. Because in order to keep the peace, I will not set boundaries, right? We fast forward, we started, there was an episode where when he actually kicked me, and that's when the abuse became real. The police was called. That's when I was referred to therapy. He started therapy too. And then we end up doing couples therapy. And the therapist always asks at the beginning of the session, like, from 1 to 10, where are you? So he was an 8 and I was a negative 500. So she said, what's going on? So there had been an incident during the weekend. And she said, do you trust him? And I said, no. And she said, why are you in that relationship? And I said, because he told me if I leave, he's going to kill me. This therapist was Black, and she turned white and looked at him and said, is that true? Not because she didn't believe me. She wanted him to say it out loud. And he's like, well, yes, but I'm not going to do anything. And I said, how do I know? And he said, well, if she wants to leave, she's free to go. You don't open the window and I'm going to stay. We had each other's keys. I started taking the key out and I gave it to him. So he set me free. I was not going to end the relationship. He was going to end the relationship in his own terms. I go to my individual therapy and I'm devastated. I'm crying, like, and I tell my therapist, isn't this what I wanted? And she said, I'm like, why am I crying? And she said, because you love this man. I'm not surprised by your reaction. I'll be surprised if you will be okay. So a lot of times with abuse, it gives this misunderstanding that you stay because you like it. No, you stay because, number one, the abuse is not 24/7. It's a cycle. And coming from Vegas, like, if you ever been in a coin machine, you know what I'm talking about, right? Because like, okay, I'm gonna leave, and then you get your fight. Oh, okay, I'm gonna recover my money. $500 later, you didn't recover your money, and you lose more than what you initially tried. And it's the same with these relationships. It's like, I tell you, you are good for nothing, and then the next day is, oh my God, you are so sweet, I cannot live without you. And the tears and the flowers and the cars, and I'm never gonna do it again. And then it happens again, and it's like, why do you make me do this? Because it's my fault, right? And because we have no self-esteem at that point, I believe you because you are the only person that I interact with. So that feedback that I get is like, really, until we look for help and we have a therapist who can provide a neutral perspective about the situation. But when you are in it, I always say when you are in the picture, you cannot see the picture, right? So it's like, but no, but he's so sweet and he's so charming and the sex is so good. So it's like, I didn't stay because I liked it. I stayed because I didn't know I could leave. So when we find out about a situation like that, let's not move so quick to judgment, because we are experiencing a lot of emotions that we don't know what to do with. And we've been told time and again, oh, you are too much, or you are too sensitive, or you exaggerate things, or you are imagining things. I never said that. We're to the point where like you start questioning yourself. Hello, gaslighting, right? Like, so, and now it has a name. 20 years ago, it didn't have that name. So when my therapist encouraged me to go to the library and get books on verbal abuse, I started learning about verbal abuse. I check every single chapter. It was a check mark of what he was doing, giving you the silent treatment, being aggressive and putting you down, like you name it, right? Like, so I think that educating people, not only the women who are in the relationship, but also the friends and family, right? Because, like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Because the shame that I felt didn't allow me to. So to anybody listening who is in a situation like this, or who knows someone who is in a situation like this, ask for help. This type of situations cannot tolerate the truth. So when I said, well, he told me if I leave, he's going to kill me. And then he had to say it out loud. He made it real. Up until that point, it was in my head, although he did say it. But now by him saying it to a third person who's not involved in the relationship, where are you going to go? I talked to him.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. And boy, I tell you, it is spot on. It's spot on. Everything you said is just spot on, from the way they isolate you. And then, once you're isolated, well, now you don't have anybody to bounce those things off of. And so when they tell you you're imagining it, or when they tell you that, that didn't happen or whatever, or when they give you their opinion about something, it now becomes their opinion, and everything now starts to surround them and their wants and their needs. And, most of us people pleasers and codependents, we are happy when they're happy. Like, we don't care that much if we, go to this movie or that movie, or if we have steak or chicken for dinner. We want them to be happy. And when they're happy, we're happy. And that's where we kind of get into this really dysfunctional loop of, if you're happy, I'm happy. Therefore, my job is now to make sure you're happy and put my needs down, even when I do have a strong opinion, which perpetuates the cycle.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. Your happiness is your responsibility. So it doesn't matter. I want you happy, but I cannot make you happy, right? I'm glad you mentioned the chicken or the steak, because the goalposts keep moving, so you can never achieve them, right? I beat you up because the dinner wasn't ready. So tomorrow dinner is ready, but you made a steak and I want chicken. So I beat you up. But you can never reach the goal. And it's like, oh my God, we are at such peace when they are happy, because we are not. We have 5 minutes of not suffering. So we take that when we can, because it is the night most of the time.
Well, and also you're starving for attention. Once they do a great job getting you isolated, and it doesn't necessarily mean they moved you off to Antarctica. It just could be that, like you said, your friends don't call anymore, and now maybe you're working. So when you come home, it's just you and them, and maybe your kids, if you have kids. But I tell you, once they get you isolated like that, then, it's like they just kind of win by default. And
right.
Yeah.
Because they count on your shame, because you're not gonna, like, I work and that was it. And I spent time with him. So it's like, it took all my energy to be at work, because I had to pretend that everything was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And then, you're starving for affirmation. You're starving for attention. You're starving for, someone to tell you that you're okay and that you are a good person. Because whether you're with a narcissist or a covert narcissist, they have very subtle but powerful ways of keeping you down. keeping you small, keeping you controllable. So what does that do? It creates an appetite in you that you need to be seen. You need to be loved. You need to be someone to admonish you that you are a good person and that you matter. And so when they do this whole, like, I'm going to treat you like garbage this day, and they take it away, take it away, take it away, and they beat you down, well, then by the time they're ready to love bomb and give you some of that back, you're starving for it. It can make you feel like, you just got a gold bar, handed down from heaven, because all of a sudden your needs, your cup is now being filled by this person who took it away from you. And even with child abuse cases, the kids that are abused by their parents and neglected and, emotionally and verbally abused, they need the affirmation from that parent. That's the parent. That's the person they crave that from, because it's the person that took it from them. So it's such a vicious and malicious and sneaky cycle, that you may not even know is happening.
Absolutely. And I think when you are coming out of the process, or while you're still in the process, if you start not believing, right? It's like, oh, you're good for nothing. And then another day it's like, oh my God, I cannot live without you. Which one is it? Because it's like, right? Like, so nobody's going to love you. So I would like, if it's okay, to give a suggestion on how to identify and challenge negative thoughts.
That'd be great.
It's a quick kind of exercise, but it's so powerful because we have the same negative thoughts over and over and over and over. So for anybody listening, grab a piece of paper. Trust me on this. Grab a piece of paper, because it's not like you think like, oh, I'm unlovable today and that doesn't happen anymore. No, you're going to think that tomorrow. So no need to reinvent the wheel. Let's do it one time. You take a picture, you keep it on your phone, you reread it, right? Like, so in this exercise, so let's say that either the relationship ended or you've been told nobody's going to love you and you believe it. So the thought is unlovable, right? Nobody's going to love me ever again. So you're going to write that at the top of the page, and then we are going to put that statement, we are going to cross-examine the statement. In the movies where I never been to court, but it fascinates me when the attorney is destroying the witness, right? Because it's not helping the case. So that's what we're going to do with that statement. So I am unlovable. So the first question is there evidence to support this statement? Well, yes, my partner told me he cannot love me. Nobody's going to love me. He gets upset all the time for the things that I do. So something is wrong with me, whatever, all the things. Perfect. And for everybody listening, you write this down. Trust me on this. Trust the old lady. No need to do it again. Then the next question is there evidence against this statement? Well, I do have friends who love me, and my family loves me. My mom loves me. Well, she's your mom. I know moms who don't love their children. So being your mom doesn't mean anything. Like, so you start listing the evidence. My coworkers think that I'm funny, and they have a good time when I'm around, and they are happy to see me, right? So, okay, so you write that down. Then the next question is, are you attempting to analyze this statement without all the evidence? And the answer is yes, because you just did evidence toward and against that statement. Then the next question is, what will a friend think about this situation? Well, a friend might say that it is ridiculous because one person said that you are unlovable and you are believing them. That doesn't mean that it's a true statement. I love you, says a friend. So you write that down. Will this matter in a month, in a year, in 5 years? So you write that, the answer to that. So at the end of the exercise, so the purpose of the exercise is that once you are done, you read all your answers. And that statement cannot stand because it's not true. So you destroy the witness in the stand, right? The purpose of the exercise is that you remember this. And again, like tomorrow when you're feeling, so you take a picture of the page, you keep it on your phone. And tomorrow or next week, when somebody tells you you are unlovable, you just, because the answers remain the same. So thoughts create feelings, and feelings create behaviors. So if I feel nobody's going to love me, I'm going to feel depressed, and I probably will isolate because I don't want to be a burden to nobody. So that's why I'm pointing toward the thought, because once you identify and challenge the thought, then it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. This is not 100% true. You don't love me, but that doesn't mean I'm unlovable. It's like we went from like, excuse me, like, this is not true. So when we are in that cycle, it is so important to identify, I'm good for nothing, I'm a failure, whatever, I'm weak. You just identify the thought, and then you answer. The questions are always the same. You are going to start questioning the abuser and start comparing it with reality. I have friends who love me. I have coworkers who are happy to see me when I'm in the office. I have all these proofs. It's kind of like now with social media, when you get 1,000 positive feedback and you get one negative comment, and it's like the 1,000 positive ones go away, right? We're only focusing on that negative one. That is not the reality. We're missing the bigger picture. So I think that is a cool exercise for anybody who is experiencing depression or is trapped in a situation like this, or any kind of situation. Like if you lose your job, oh my God, I'm a failure. It's like, no, you just lost that job. And it might be a blessing because God has something better for you down the line that you would have never looked into if you didn't lose this job, because we get comfortable in misery. I know I'm miserable, but I'm comfortable. And I have vacation time and I have benefits and I have, why do you want to be in such a toxic environment? And sometimes we don't like change. So when we are forced, when God is like, okay, you're done, bye, we need to get fired, because otherwise we will stay in that job until we retire. But we don't have to. We truly don't have to. Take it from the old lady who moved 3 countries. It's like, you know, you are not, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Is your soul happy? If not, go and find that life is too short to be somewhere where you are not happy.
Yeah. And, you know, mentally note the people that you're around, that when you're with them, you feel good about yourself. You feel, you know, that you are a good person, and that, or you are whatever, fill in the blank. But those people that feed your soul, notice the difference when you're with them or when you're with people. And it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be anybody. It could be your boss. It could be, you know, your aunt or your sister or whatever, brother, uncle. But notice how they make you feel. If you feel small, if you feel less than, if you feel defensive, or you get anxiety thinking about going over there to visit, even if you can't pinpoint it and put your finger on it, something is wrong, something is off, you know, and it's probably not you, especially when you don't feel like that around everybody. Now, if you feel like that around everybody, maybe it is you. Maybe there's an issue. Maybe there's some things you need to work out with a good therapist. But, you know, notice that.
Absolutely. And when you do that, somebody's going to be disappointed, right? Like, so if I'm like not feeling that comfortable around Uncle Tom and I say no to the family gathering, they're going to feel uncomfortable. But somebody has been feeling uncomfortable all along. It was you, because you're like, well, I don't want to make waves, so I'm going to go. Right? But you made yourself uncomfortable. It's okay that one time you put yourself first and you start valuing and asking, what is it that I need? So that is going to make other people uncomfortable, and it's okay. Listen, you're not tequila. You're not going to make everybody happy. That's fine. You make yourself happy, because when you start working on yourself, you put yourself first. That's selfish. That is absolutely necessary, number one. And that is the best thing that you can do to be a better, because once you're happy, you're going to be a better person. So you're going to be a better mom and a better partner and a better friend and a better employee and a better everything. You have to learn how to put yourself first. And that's what I'm a recovered people pleaser. But it's like, that's what people pleasers, we don't know how to do that because we've been called selfish when we put ourselves first. But the thing is that you reach a point where like you're running out of time.
Yeah.
And it's like the time is now to honor yourself.
And I liked how my therapist said it years ago after my first divorce. He said there's two different types of selfish. There's the lowercase and there's the capital case S. The lowercase S is just watching out and making sure you are mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy and in a good place. The capital S is, it's all about me and no one else, and I will run over anybody else that tries to get in my way. And that was so eye-opening the way he said it. There's lowercase self and there's capital self. Which one are you? Which one do you need to take care of, right? So, yeah.
I love that. I'm going to steal it. See, therapists, we come up with stuff that is like, and it impacts people in a way that we don't know when we are saying it, right? It's like, but it is so true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like to say something about anxiety. In a nutshell, anxiety is about trying to control the future, which is impossible because the future is not even here. So it's like, what's going to happen on Monday? You might die tonight. You're not going to make it to Monday. Don't worry about Monday. Take a deep breath and come back to the present moment. We are either overwhelmed with the mistakes we made in the past, or we are worried about the future. And if God is saying, like, come back to the present moment, come back to right here, right now, because there is no tomorrow. And when we trust God, so I have here, it says, good morning, this is God. I will be handling all your problems today. I will not need your help. So have a great day, right? Which is a great reminder every morning, because it's like on the one hand, I'm like, oh yeah, I trust you, God. And then on the other hand, it's like, but I want it done this way and right now. Okay, how are we going to do this, right? So when we are so concerned about the future, we are missing what's happening right now. So if there is, let's say, an important meeting on Monday, what you can do today is to do more research, be better prepared for that meeting on Monday. But even if you don't sleep, Monday is not going to come anytime sooner. So it's like the best thing that we can do, and it's one of the hardest things, is to be in the present moment. When we feel depressed about situations or the decisions that we made in the past, if we can learn something from that experience, then that experience wasn't wasted, because now you have information. You know, when I started school at 42, and people were like, oh, you are crazy. Okay, so let's say social work didn't work out for me. Fine, I go back to doing accounting. But either way I win, because now I have information that social work is not for me. But going to school didn't erase all the knowledge I had about accounting. I can still do it. But I didn't want to have regret. Or what if? Because I was going to turn 50 with a degree or without a degree.
So how did you use these skills when you found out you had breast cancer? Like that brings with it a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry about tomorrow. I mean, you know, when someone hands you a sentence like that, I mean, you've just lost control at that moment.
Absolutely.
You know? What did
Yes.
you do? What are the tools that got you through that?
Thank God for my therapist and thank God for God. But I had the support of friends, family, of my therapist. I didn't do it alone. But one of the first things, my first reaction to hearing the news was like, why me? And that is such a mindset of a victim mentality. I don't have children, but my mom at the time, she was alive. So I had my mom, I had a sister, I have nieces, I have girlfriends. And then I started thinking, if it wasn't me, would I prefer that it was one of them who got the diagnosis? And the answer is no. So now I switched the question to why not me? And then I had a decision to make. So I move away from the victim mentality, right? Why not me? What makes me special to not have the breast cancer? But okay, God, give it to my mom. So then I had a decision to make. I can sit in the corner and cry until I die, or I can stand up and fight. And I do believe in God, and I believe that God will guide your steps, but you have to stand up. So I did my part. I went to the treatments. I pray, and I also went to the treatments. Bad days, if you would, where like, having breast exams or mammograms after you've been diagnosed with breast cancer and waiting for the result is so anxiety provoking, because it's like, oh my God, is it going to be okay? Is it cancer back? Is it, because at no point when I had cancer, I felt sick. I was feeling normal. I found a lump on my breast, but I never felt sick. So to me, not feeling sick doesn't mean anything, because I didn't feel sick, but I had a tumor growing inside of me. So that those periods of waiting for the test to get back are so anxiety provoking, but it's like, again, like coming back to the present moment, distracting myself with loved ones or watching a movie, or allowing myself to be anxious for a day, but not for a week, because it's like, okay, they're going to call me, right? Like, so, okay, I'm looking at the phone, so I'm kind of like expecting to get that call that something is wrong, and praying a lot. But again, like, praying, God is like there for you. You have to be there for yourself. So asking for help, my therapist she saved my life in more than one occasion, because having been able to process with her all these emotions that I wouldn't tell my family, that, oh, this is what I'm experiencing, but I could tell her. So having that neutral person who is gonna take it and give it back to you. So my job as a therapist is to provide you with a different perspective. So I take what you told me and I'll give it back to you. Have you considered blah, 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 right? Like, and this is not to say that I was a walk in the park. Not at all. But all the energy that I spent, it was guided towards my well-being. Because we spend energy when we are worrying, and it's for not. So worrying is kind of like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't take you anywhere. So it's like I had fun with my family and my friends, and then I went to therapy and I cry my eyes out. And then, like I will go, I had radiation as part of my treatment. And there was, when I had a tattoo, a dot tattoo in between my breasts to guide the machine. So then I'm laying on the table and I had one guy pulling this way and one guy pulling this way. And I started laughing. And they were like, ma'am, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. I don't remember the last time 2 guys on each side of me were pulling the sheets underneath me. So they were like, oh my God. So then they aligned the machine, whatever. And then I had radiation every day. So they told me what to do the next day. So next day I go there, I put my gown, I'm waiting for them to call me. And they were, oh, you are back. I said, oh yeah, I wouldn't miss my tanning session for nothing. So it was the attitude. I had a lot of nurses telling me, oh, we know you're going to be okay because of your attitude. You know how when you're in treatment, they come and they check your name and date of birth. And I'm like, I'm Kim Kardashian. And they look at me, I'm like, oh, you didn't recognize me? Like, and then I will give my real name, of course. And they're like, oh my God, like you are so funny. But I was going to do it anyway. So how I'm doing it is my choice. Having to do it is not. But how? So a lot of times we are confronted with these challenges and we're like, oh my God. It's like, okay, you didn't choose a challenge. You have no control over that, but you have 100% control of how you react to that challenge and what you do with that. So my motto is, I had cancer, cancer didn't have me. Because nobody would have blamed me if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to do my master's. I had breast cancer. I was like, I'm feeling better. Like, I think I'm going to go to school. And my motto can be used for any challenge. you're currently facing. As far as you own the challenge and you don't allow the challenge to own you.
I love that. And honestly, I've been through challenges. Obviously, we all have, but I always try to find a way to fight, whatever it is, whatever I'm going through, whether it just be bouts of anxiety or whether it be a health challenge or whether it be fear for the future or whatever. I try to find a way to fight instead of a way to shrink and be the victim. It's easy to shrink and be the victim and just curl up in a ball and just want to just not face it and just run away from it. But it's more empowering and it's more distracting. It's way more distracting when you stand up, like you said, and you find a way to fight. And it could look different for everybody. If you had a diagnosis that terrifies you, it could be that you start looking into healthier ways of eating and living and, ways to move your body and ways to do improvements that you hadn't thought of before, just for overall general health. There's ways to fight things. And so, like you said, just being able to do that and just to take on the fight, whether it be good attitude and I'm going to smile today and I'm going to laugh and I'm going to have fun with my friends and I'm going to go out and I'm going to do what I can with whatever energy I have. But everybody's fight, I think, looks different. But like you said, that can be the same with toxic relationships. What are you going to do to not become the victim of this? What are you going to do to not let this person completely take over your will, your emotions, your mind, and your truth? What are you going to do, to not allow that? And it could be tiny baby steps and it could be huge, sweeping, dramatic things. But I love that, Zulma. Thank you so much. And I know we're about out of time, but is there anything else you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, I would like to tell everybody listening, if you woke up today, that means that your mission in life is now complete. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you're going to come on the other side of the challenge you're currently facing.
Oh, there you go. Could not say it better. That's a perfect way to end. Thank you so much for your fun attitude and all the wisdom that you've gathered. And I love that you decided just to go to school, in your 40s. Like, that's such a perfect thing to do. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like midlife sometimes is the perfect opportunity. Or like you said, with it was your dad, right? Or your grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad was 70.
No, my dad.
70
73.
Something. Decided to get married. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's wonderful. It would be so easy just to say, no, I'm too old. And why? What's the point? But absolutely love it. So anyway, great words today. And thank you so much, Zulma. You all, we will have her information on the description and just go check her out, see what else she's got to offer.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
If something in this conversation resonated with you, don't ignore that. Pay attention to what your heart is telling you, because you are not crazy. You are not overreacting, and you are not alone. If this episode helped you, please share it with somebody who might need it, and we will see you in the next conversation.